Hey YouTube, so this will be my first ever video public on YouTube. So I don't know, this is really just gonna be a video of my bike, like explaining my bike, things I'm gonna be doing to it, and just kind of the backstory of this and why I built it the way that it is, and kind of explaining, going into details, some of the specs about this. Okay, so starting off, this is a 2019 Coleman CT200 UA. Don't really know the difference between the CT200U and the UA. It was that original red, but I decided over this last summer to go ahead and paint it red. I mean, not red, blue, sorry. I don't know, I really like this blue. I thought it would turn out a lot better, but it didn't turn out that great. Here was the old red, as you can see, pretty bad paint job, but I'm probably going to be correcting that very soon. So this is the overview of the bike. I'm going to do a quick walk around. So talking about the bike, it came originally with this 196cc engine. I did a couple mods. I did a 22-pound valve springs, an exhaust, and a jet in the carb. And then I eventually went on to add a torque converter. And when I added a torque converter, it did pretty good. It was pretty fast, got up to about 40, maybe, I'd say high 30s, lower 40s, maybe mid to lower 40s. And it did pretty great for basically a stock engine. And that stock engine ended up messing up, and I blew my rod apart. So it's a cast rod, and they're not very strong, and they don't have a bearing on it. So if anything gets in that oil, like in the oil going into the bearing, or not bearing, but the rod connecting to the crank, you're basically done for. And so I cracked mine. It wasn't too bad. I would say the only things that were majorly affected is a rod. The crank was probably salvageable, but we ended up replacing the crank anyways. So after I blew it up, I went to a Predator 212 engine. So Predator 212 are some of the more reliable engines. They work great. They also have a little bit more horsepower out of the box than these things do. And yeah, so it ran great. I only had an exhaust and that same carb on that engine, or on the Predator engine, and it ran just as fast without the valve springs. And yeah, I think it was pretty great. So I ended up moving on to a 72 tooth rear sprocket. I did that for a little bit more torque, well, a lot more, because the stock sprocket I think is a 56 tooth. I could be wrong, but I would imagine it's 56. I would have to go back and count it, but yeah, so I moved on to this sprocket and did pretty great. I've always had trouble with chains. I break chains, and yeah, that's why my name on YouTube is Chain Breaker. But yeah, like I said, I've broken plenty of chains. I have, I think this box is full of chains that are broken, and all sorts of stuff like that. So I kept on buying chains, and then I finally went on to a gold PVL chain. That was after I built the engine though. Okay, so while I had my Predator 212 in the bike, me and my dad built the 196cc engine, and it's so much more awesome. I mean, I can hit basically 60 miles an hour with that gearing. So it's a 12 tooth, I think. I'm pretty sure last I checked, the sprocket on the torque converter right there is a 12 tooth, and then that's a 72 tooth. So if you can do the math, comes out to like maybe like a 5 or 6 gear ratio. I don't really remember. It's been a while since I've checked. But yeah, so it's kind of basically unheard of with that sort of things. And I tried finding a sprocket that would go up there that would make it a little bit more even and more top ender, more, yeah, a little bit more top end than what I have on right now. But couldn't really find anything and didn't want to spend major amounts of money on something like that. And so, now to talk about the engine. So this engine, when I rebuilt it, we put in a 196R Tillotson crank. We put in the one-piece PVL aluminum flywheel. It's not the billet flywheel, but it is one piece, and it will hold up to like 10,000 RPMs or something like that, 13, 11, I don't know. Some crazy high RPMs, which this thing probably does not push, but I could be wrong. I don't have a tack on this. We do have, like I said, an aluminum rod, built aluminum rod from ARC, just a stock height, didn't want to mess with anything like that. We have a flat top piston. We have a, man, I forget the name. We have a racing spark plug. I forgot the name, but we do have a racing spark plug. We have ported and polished head. It's the stock head, but we ported and polished it. Me and my dad ported and polished it. We didn't, spend money on the really expensive head, but it still looks good. And then we added a bullet valve cover. Could have went a lot cheaper, did it ourselves, but we just decided to splurge just a tiny tad bit. We have 22-pound valve springs in there. Most of the parts bought for the engine are Go Power Sports. OMB Warehouse. I do also buy a lot of my parts from Go Power Sports, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. Yeah, so the engine, everything is built inside the engine. The only things that are not done are push rods. Push rods. Rocker arm. So push rods, rocker arms, and I think the lifters. But all of those will probably eventually be done in a different engine, but I'll talk about that later. Another thing that is done to this is the carb. The carb is a VM22 carb. I got it on eBay, and this one was actually meant for a dirt bike. It had the little elbow intake. Had to go on eBay and buy me a this sort of intake for the Predator 212. Really like the blue. I used to have a red one on, but I switched it out because it didn't really look as great. I have a fuel filter, a fuel on and off valve, a new gas tank from eBay. Going to this side, hopefully, let me grab my flashlight just to help. So over here, you can see a little bit more down into here. We have an exhaust from eBay. So it is stained. As you can see, there's like pattern on it. That's actually header wrap. So up here, right there, that's header wrap. But I used to have it on, and then it eventually came off and was too hard to put back on, so didn't really worry about it. Like I said, I have this torque converter. Nothing too special about this torque converter. It's one of those cheap eBay $70 torque converters and works pretty good. I just blew up one of my belts, which I would show, but it's in one of the boxes. I actually just cleaned this for this video. I put it in a box over there, and yeah, it wasn't very pretty, but that is one of my belts that I might put back on, but is very worn out and was flipping on me, so I'm probably not going to do that. I have some belts on order on the way, and should get them this Saturday, and it is Thursday, so yeah. Yeah, like I said, gold chain, sprocket. So talking about this tire, some of y'all are probably wondering, what is this tire? So it's a high run 16 by 6.5 by 8, so it fits the 8-inch wheel that I have. Coleman's come with 8-inch wheels, and I didn't really want to mess with this brake setup because this brake setup is, well, I didn't want to mess with it because I don't have a welding machine yet. I don't have a welder yet, and I didn't want to really have to fabricate anything to put like a disc brake on there just yet. I do want to eventually do disc brakes front and rear, but just didn't work out. And this is actually the stock brake, and I'm going 60 miles an hour. So I am going to be upgrading that very soon. Amazon sells this like slotted brake band, or no, it's actually brake shoe. They sell this water jet cut slotted brake band, or brake shoe, sorry. So I am buying that very soon. Probably after Christmas, because I need to save up my money. I've already spent a lot on gifts and stuff, so need to get a little bit more money in the bank account. Front wheel and tire, stock front wheel and tire. I don't know if y'all saw this earlier, but that is the stock rear wheel, and then the Sun F 20 by 7 by 8, I think. Yeah, I think it's a 20 by 7 by 8, and I took it off because number one, it's an off-road tire, and it was starting to lose grip. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's like chain marks about right there, right above the logo. That's because it was kind of too bulgy on the side. Maybe it was overinflated, I don't know. And it was rubbing up against the chain. Wasn't great, so took it off. More on the engine. I used to have this oil catch can, but I ended up taking it off because, or not taking it off, it actually broke off. Here's one of the pieces, here's the piece that broke off on an old country road. And I was left with a tube coming out of my valve cover and spewing out oil everywhere. So in fact, I hit it behind, it would go right across there, and I don't know if you can see, but there's a bunch of oil marks. And then I somehow can't keep my bike clean enough to where it doesn't have any like dirt or grime. So I just given up at this point. It's not a show mini bike by any means. So yeah. So another things that I am going to be upgrading very soon are these front handlebars. These are just, it's a stiff chassis. It's a yeah, they call it like a stiff roller or a rigid roller. I don't know. I am getting the $69 front suspension kit. Hopefully someone's gifting it to me, because that's the most expensive part about my purchase or on my order in Go Power Sports. But hopefully someone's gifting it to me, because $69 is kind of cheap for what it is, but like I said, I don't really have all that money to spend just right now. I am buying the front skinny wheel, front skinny tire, kind of resembling like a Harley front wheel and tires package. It's the 10-inch wheel, 10-inch tire setup. It's going to be 350 wide or 3.5 wide. So it's a 3.5 by 10 or something like that. Don't really remember. Pretty low profile tire. Just kind of getting into a drag stance. It's going to be a little bit lower up front, hopefully. But if not, that'll be okay. And then I'll put on some like bike handlebars, whatever I can find. Yeah, so, and then eventually, well, I want new grips, but eventually I might go to thumb throttle, because this is kind of getting stiff with that whole linkage setup, which I don't know why we did the linkage setup, but my dad thought it would be cool, so we did it. He bought it. I didn't have a problem with it, so yeah. Then I am going to be wanting to get a new brake lever and, like I said, new grips. I do want to get the front like it's an MB200 or whatever front brake kit where it'll go like right there. On the mini bike, it's just like bolt on basically, and yeah, helps stopping. Another thing that I am going to be doing, eventually I might turbo this thing, but it's very unlikely. But if I do, it'd be pretty cool because I am getting a welder this Christmas. I do think I'm pretty sure I am. But yeah, so this, I don't like it because I like putting my feet right here when doing launches because up front pegs suck. Well, with launches anyways. And yeah, this exhaust just kind of sounds weird and comes out way too much. Like, as you can tell, it like comes out like that, which not a terrible design. I normally don't have this bumper on. I was just doing some idling in the garage yesterday and put it on just because even though the muffler's on, it's still pretty freaking loud. But yeah, so I want to get rid of this because it burns the shit out of my legs and I can't put the header wrap on anymore. So I'm going to be getting probably going to be moving this maybe to the back. I don't know, maybe somewhere. And then I'm going to get a through pipe to the rear. It's going to be sitting about right there. So yeah. Anything else I'm forgetting? Like I said, when I get a welder, I am going to be putting some pegs about right here. Maybe going ahead and adding them right there just for a little bit more security, kind of shape them into them. I was planning on doing some like BMX pegs onto the rear axle bolt, but I'm not sure. Well, I haven't had the chance to do it, but I'm not sure my axle is long enough because as you can see, there's only about like a couple millimeters. I think, no, centimeters, whatever. Maybe like 1 centimeter hanging off. So yeah, so not that great. Hopefully gonna be moving on to a slick, but if I don't move on to a slick, I'm gonna be keeping this. This is a very cheap tire. It's like 25 bucks shipped. And yeah, I do a lot of burnouts on this. As you can see, it's like all texturized, and then these are just like not that. Well, I'm sure it doesn't really involve that, but you get the point. So y'all are probably asking me how I fill up my gas. Just switch the seat up. Just a very simple mechanism. It was a lot harder to do in real life than we thought. So we just came up with this simple idea where it's 2 hinges, slide back or lift up, and then you have this going down to this, and then I usually have like a bolt and then a wing nut, and then for some reason I lost the wing nut, don't know where it is. I'll probably go out and get another one, but I've been riding without a bolt and wing nut, which isn't doing me dirty, so I'm just gonna keep it like that. For gas, I do run 93 octane. Anything else will ruin your engine. I could run higher octane, and I don't think I should, but I could, and it probably wouldn't hurt, but there's really no point. It takes pump gas just fine, and I don't want very expensive gas. Anything else? The carb is jetted about to, I think it's a 180 jet. Could be wrong. Some other future plans that I have with this is probably putting in or building this Predator and putting it in. So the Predator, well, actually, hold on, just before I go to that, this engine is painted with, I think it's Rust-Oleum engine paint, black enamel engine paint. All right, back to the 212. The Predator 212 will have, if we do build it, it's either going to have a 308 or a 356 cam. So a big cam. This has a 265 cam. Sorry, I forgot to say it has a 265 cam, or 265 hot cam. We'll probably put push rods. Obviously the billet rod, but the billet rod will have the .020 height difference, the plus .020 height difference, I do believe. I don't remember if that's hundredths or thousandths or tenths. I don't remember. So I just, yeah, sorry if that offended anyone. This does have all new gaskets, by the way. Sorry, just remembered that. But for the new Predator 212, like I said, bigger rod, bigger cams. Probably just the same flywheel as this, not the exact same one, because I'm probably going to sell this or put it in a different bike. I don't know just yet. I do eventually want to build a frame out sort of like this, maybe a Megamoto frame, and just stretch the frame, so kind of move it out just about like to right where the end of the tire is. Keep the I would keep the engine about right there, maybe just scoot it a little bit back right there, and have the tire right there, just for a little bit of, like, you know, I don't know if that's called trigonometry or geometry or whatever, but just to kind of keep it from being front end happy or whatever, just to keep it from popping major wheelies. But yeah, so the 212 will have bigger cam, bigger rod. We'll also have a flat top piston. I don't think anyone makes domed pistons for these things. That would be really sick, but they don't, or I've never seen them. I have another carb like that. I would probably port match that to I would probably port this area and then port match everything in the head. They do sell high combustion, or not high combustion, I don't remember. They sell, what's it called? I don't know, where the head is a little bit less for more combustion, or man, I'm sorry, I forgot what that's called. I usually know this stuff off the spot, but it's kind of hard being on camera, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, so just kind of upgraded engine. Hopefully I'll put some chromoly push rods in there just so I don't keep from bending a push rod, and then 1.3-to-1 compression, or high compression head, sorry. High compression head, that's what I want to put on, and then just do the port work. But I'd be putting the 1.3-to-1 ratio rockers on there, and they're gonna be the ones that are jointed together, so one right here, and they're jointed together so they can't move back and forth, because that's what causes like bent rods and stuff like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what happens. Yeah, so like I said, skinnier front wheel, exhaust that goes through the back. Oh, when I do get a welder, like I said, I'm gonna get those pegs, and then I'm gonna do a small, like I said, small wheelie bar. So it's probably gonna be about to like right here, maybe a little longer. Yeah, maybe about right there, but it's gonna have tabs, so I'm probably gonna do one about right here, so 1 and 2, and then probably add them on right here just for that little bit of extra support. But it's going to be detachable, so that way I can go ahead and like store it up there, right there, so I don't always have to have it on, and when I want it I can put it on, and when I don't I can just take it off with, you know, like a bolt, and like a bigger bolt with a cotter pin in it. I think that would be awesome. Going back, I don't think I explained this oil catch can that I made. It's a seafoam can. There's the old one. So it's a seafoam can with a hole drilled in the cap, and then it goes straight to the valve cover, and it goes right into there. I did two holes up here. I hit them with a metal punch, but it kind of dented it, which isn't a big deal. But then I just drilled it out with a hand drill after that, and that's just for a little bit of venting. The last one I had, as you can see, there's some tape and zip ties right there, and more tape on the bottom. So that's the governor bolt. When I removed the governor, the bolt we tapped it and filled it in with a bolt, and the bolt rubbed through the other one, and caused a hole in the bottom. So what we did, 2 pieces of duct tape on that, zip tied, and then like 6 pieces of duct tape there. Painted it black just so it'll match just a little bit better than a white can, and it so far works great. I've had it for about a week and a half now, and I think it's doing good. For my torque converter, y'all probably realize that it was missing a belt. Like I said, I shredded a belt earlier, and it actually made a hole in my cover. And I never run it with a cover, but I just put one on like the minute before I rode, and it kind of pissed me off because it took me like 30 minutes to put on that cover, and it only took me like 5 to, totally destroy my belt and the cover. It made a hole about right here in the cover, and yeah, so my belt's destroyed. This belt doesn't work because it's all like worn out. So like I said, grabbing a new belt. But the cool thing is I have like 3 of these torque converter kits. Those are all torque converter parts. And so that just means I have extra parts of torque converters. So I did run through 3 belts. I already broke one of the belts, and it was slapping up against my thighs, and that hurt so bad. Well, it was alright, but yeah, so I put the cover on just in case and saved me. But I have a new cover. I scuffed it up, started painting it because it was like a black plastic looking cover, and I just think that a shiny painted black one will look a little bit better. All right, y'all, so thank y'all for watching. I wanted to finally post. I've never posted, and this will get me into the YouTube scene. Don't expect crazy high money builds. This is pretty cheap. In total, I think on this on this bike, I think I have spent maybe 2,000, maybe 2,500 on parts and everything that went into the bike over time. And that includes all the parts back there and all the parts up there and stuff like that. But yeah, so I've spent a lot of money on this already in my standards, but this is also like 3 or 4 years, well, 3, maybe 2.5 years old. So yeah, let me know what y'all think. If y'all have any comments, questions, anything like that, leave them in the questions or comments below. I think I said everything about this. I'm probably going to post a video of me doing like a warm-up, like a cold start, rev, stuff like that. In fact, I have one in my camera roll. I might post that after I post this. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, like I said, any questions, suggestions, anything like that? Anyone know of any places where I could get cheap parts? Well, parts for cheap, not cheap parts. So yeah, just let me know. Thank y'all for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed. I'll see y'all in the next video.